Halala Zuma, halala. Halala President Zuma, halala. Phansi ngokuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane, phansi. Phambili ka go sireletsa bomme le bana pele. Thank you very much. Morning, President, our Premier, our Mayor. I'd like to take this moment to welcome all of you. Re a le amogela, re le khulumente o mogolo le wa province le wa masipala mo Lebowakgomo re la mogelegile batho ba mo Leboa. Ka ntle ga go senya sebaka re tlo gopela South African Police Service Band ba re binele pina ya setšhaba lona ba botlhe re gopela re emelle bontate ba tlhobole dikuana tsa bona ba bontshe tlhompho ya bona. Over to you. Ha re emeng re ska etsa lerata. Thank you very much to our beautiful band of South African Police Service for rendering our national anthem. Without any waste of time, I would like to welcome all of you, various professions who are with us today, our communities around Limpopo. I will also want to call upon our Premier to welcome us. A kgone go ramogela, re kgone go tswella pele ka moshomo wa rena ka sheku lena.
A go leboge Minister Shabangu, our program director, the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Zuma, Executive Mayor of Capricorn District Municipality, Councillor Mbe, Mayor of Lepelle-Nkumpi Local Municipality, and all councillors present here, members of the Executive Council of the province present here, members of community policing forums, women and children rights organizations, baka mafateng a matelele, magoši ma aparang ko matšwara thamaga ba le go fa, madulang phateng a mšate, batho ba Limpopo le Afrika Borwa ka bophara, re a le reta, re a le tamiša. Program Director, I want to thank all these people congregated here for responding so positively to this very important campaign about the safety and security of women and children in our country. Today is yet another important platform for us to speak in one voice and say no to any form of abuse against women and children. We have come here to re-emphasize the message that women's rights are indeed human rights. We have come here to recommit ourselves to taking care and protecting the children of our country. The future of this country cannot be guaranteed without protecting and advancing the rights of women and children. Today, each one of us should raise his or her voice and say, count me in the struggle against physical violence against women, economic abuse against women, psychological abuse of women, the bullying behavior of children at school, and other abuses against women and children. This day is also commemorated internationally with campaigns aimed at raising awareness and bringing an end to the abuse of women. In South Africa, we have accepted that there is a strong relationship between child abuse and women abuse. Program Director, the message against the abuse of women and children is a year-round message. No one should be made to think that we are only vigilant during this period of 16 days. My apology. Every single day is a day against the abuse of women and children. For this to be successful, every single one of us must be a campaign against women and children abuse. All of us must join hands to rescue women from the web of untold sufferings of rape, sexual harassment, emotional, financial, and psychological abuse, physical and psychological abuse. The most painful thing is that women are subjected to these painful and shameful realities in the hands of the same people who have publicly vowed to love them. At times, children are made to suffer abuse in the hands of those who gave birth to them. If we know of a mother who's not taking a child to school, we must stand up, we must raise our voices and talk about that kind of person, because that mother or that father must be reported to the authorities. If we know of a mother who's not bathing her kids, we must speak out also as community, responsible community people. If we know of a mother or a father who abuses the money for child support, for alcohol or gambling, we must speak out as communities. We must do so because no child deserves to be with an uncaring parent. We must all raise our hands and be counted in the struggle against women and child abuse. Program Director, my task was merely to welcome all of you to this national commemoration of this activism against the abuse of women and children. I am confident that this day will help us relate better and find more constructive ways of resolving disputes amongst ourselves without resorting to violence and abuse. The future of this country requires that men and women of this country should act together to craft a worthy inheritance for the children of this country, the beautiful children of this country, and beautiful women of this country. The former president of the African National Congress, President Oliver Tambo, used to call them the flowers of our nation. As a result, Jonas Gwangwa also, Honorable President, released a title song titled Flowers of Our Nation. Let me pause here in my welcoming remarks, ladies and gentlemen, to usher the President of the country, President Zuma, who is well known to all of us, to come and address you. I'm not sure, Program Director, as to whether this is the right time now. Honorable President, in this part of the country, we'll either say Kakamel, Shulu Shamadi. You're welcome to come and address.
Thank you very much, Premier, for those wonderful words. Ramogelegile, Premiera wa rona a re dintšao di bofile, re ka ne ra tlhobola le dibaki. I want to also take this opportunity to welcome our partners on this very critical campaign of 16 days of no violence against women, recognizing our partners within the United Nations. We have the United Nations women who are with us today, acknowledge them. We acknowledge our partners in skills development in their various sectors. We acknowledge the deputy ministers, my colleagues. We have a Deputy Minister of Social Development, Harriet Bokopane Zulu. We have a Deputy Minister of Tourism, Togo Kasa, our MECs who are with us today, our mayors who are with us from Limpopo. We also acknowledge our MEC, Joyce Mashamba, Mapule Mukaba, MEC Toile, who's with us, Tutule, who's here today. We also want to welcome all government departments who have decided to partner with us as we begin a journey of launching national dialogues, but also a 365 campaign, which we're rolling out today to all provinces of South Africa. We have identified Limpopo as our beginning to roll out our program on women who have been victims of abuse. Our partner, Gender Sonke Justice, the Commission for Gender Equality, who are with us, we acknowledge them. And I want to say all protocol observed. It's not deliberate that I did not mention some of our partners, but you are all welcome to Limpopo as we roll out our program. We want to make sure we go to the root cause of the problems of violence in our country. That is why we're bringing everybody. Our church leaders acknowledge our Bishop Margaret from the Anglican Church, who's here on behalf of the Archbishop, Thabo Makgoba, who's with us today. So you all welcome, members of the media. Without any waste of time, I'm going to call our OTP choir to render a music item before we can allow our president to make his remarks. Thank you very much. Thank you for soothing the women and children during this very critical period when we commemorate the 16 days of no violence against women. May I also acknowledge Koshin Twanisi, who is with us. Other traditional leaders I might not have identified and seen, we also acknowledge them. May I also acknowledge our executive mayor from Skukuni, Udutsimani. You are all welcome. But may I also say this is an important day. We are beginning what we've never done in South Africa. We are here to once more try and find the causes. Why do we continue to have this scourge of violence against women and children not getting better? The very important message we are saying to all of you, it's not about the women as victims, but it's also about the men. Let's work together in finding solutions. And also let's go much more deeper in making sure our society is free and we create a society which is peaceful. That is why you are here today. As I speak today, we are here on the 18th year of this campaign. It's the 18th year. But we still see this scourge which continues to be prevalent. Few days ago, we see women being victims of abuse. And that's why let's hold hands. We've changed our approach. We want to work with the communities. Re batla ha re tlile yana Limpopo, re shome le di communities tse fapafapaneng, ha re felle fela mo ditoropong, re tla ilo fitla le ko magaeng gore a ke lebaka la eng le etsang gore tlhekefetso ya bomme le bana e sa fele mo lefatsheng le la rena. President wa rona o tletse le tseo tse ka sheko. O batla o tseba keng re sa khone gore go fele go tlhekefetswa ga bana le bana, ga basadi le bana. Mme melao ya rona re pasitse melao e mentle. Melao ya Domestic Violence Against Women, Sexual Offences Act. Ebile re entse le dikhoto tse ileng gore di tla lebagana le tlhekefetso ya bomme mme ha go fele. Ha re kopaneng setšhaba sa South Africa, re bontshane, re leke go krea le go rarolla bothata be re shebaneng le bona. Re tebane le bothata be ileng gore bana gompieno ha isa le bana ba tshaba bo malome, bana ba tshaba bo abuti, bana ba tshaba bo ntate. Yaanong tshwantse re kere setlhare, rata ya go fetsa tlhekefetso e ya rona re le bomme le bana mo lefatsheng le la rona. Ka ntlha ga go senya sebaka, ke tla gopela kwayara ya mopremiera OTP gape e tle e re fe pina re emise president wa rona o emetseng setšhaba se sa rona e leng yena o retelang gore tshwantse re lwantshe tlhekefetso ya bomme mo lefatsheng le, o tlisitseng di-department tsa rona ka bophara gore di tle re bontshane re tswelle pele. Yaanong president ke tlo gopela khwaya ha wa e bona, ke tlo gopela ro eme mo o ba bone ha ba go amogela gore kwena yaanong o tshwantse o bue. Ke bona o ntse o singa ka sesero o ya singa o ba bone. Manje ngizama ukuba mongameli o ba bone nawe mabakumise ngengoma.
basadi ba tshwanetse go ema ka maoto ba emele ditokelo tsa bona.
Thank you very much, Director of the Program. I'm happy that you realized that we were in trouble there with the speakers and the light. We couldn't see them. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you very much. Bayesu, Dumelang, Abshe, Dimasharon, Nda. Thank you very much indeed, Director of the Program, the Minister in the Presidency, responsible for women, children, and many other important things that relate to women. The Premier of the Limpopo Province, Ndate Sten Matabata, the Minister in the Presidency responsible for women, Me Susan Shabangu, Deputy Ministers who are present here, MECs who are present here, Deputy Judge President of the Limpopo High Court, Judge Fikile Mokhohloa, mayors who are here from districts and other levels of municipalities, managers and councillors, members of the South African chapter of the International Association of Women Judges, members of the South African Women Lawyers, traditional leaders who are here, religious leaders who are with us here, members from the broader legal fraternity, leadership of the faith-based and civil organizations, fellow South Africans, people of Limpopo. We have gathered here today to mark this important day in our country, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Children. We use this day each year to launch the 16 Days of Activism of No Violence Against Women and Children, and to take stock of progress made in fighting the abuse and violence directed at women and children. This campaign is about uniting all in our country behind one message: that women and children must be safe and must feel safe at home, in the streets, and anywhere in the country. Informed by our country's constitution, which turns 20 years old next month, government is determined to use all resources at its disposal to make the country safer for women and children. The theme of this year's 16 Days campaign, which says, "Count me in, together moving a non-violent society forward," urges all of us to fight this scourge of violence against women and children. This year's campaign takes the form of the launch of national dialogues on violence against women and children. About 27 dialogues have been lined up for the various parts of the Limpopo province to engage the victims and perpetrators. The purpose is to use the information gathered and lessons learned to prevent abuse of women and children and to raise awareness to all of us. Dialogues must be held in every province. The dialogues will provide an opportunity for government to assess its own law enforcement and social support machinery in order to enhance support for women and children. Violence against women and children manifests itself openly in serious crimes such as murder, sexual assault, domestic violence, assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm, or human trafficking. What is of serious concern is that most women are attacked by men they know. And in most cases, men, they are intimate with their husbands or partners. We are losing more and more women at the hands of their violent, intimate partners. International studies show that women often turn a blind eye to the violence in their intimate relationships, or sometimes prefer to live in denial or disbelief. They also live in the hope that the perpetrator will change and stop their behavior. The danger about living in an unattended violent relationship is that it interferes or it intensifies over time until it leads to death. Violence against women has been declared a priority crime by government. Women must not be scared to report the perpetrators to the police. As we meet already, there are horrific tales of violent attacks, such as the gang rape of a 13-year-old girl by 10 men in Nyanga, Cape Town. It is beyond comprehension that adult men can inflict such pain on a defenseless child. Other children are sexually molested at home by relatives in some cases. These are the types of incidents that should unite us all to say enough is enough. There are also cases of the abuse of girls in schools by teachers, some of whom even fall pregnant. Government appeals to parents and girls to report such teachers to the police and social workers. This conduct must not be tolerated. Statutory rape must be reported to the police. It is a serious crime against children. Women are also sexually harassed in the workplace by male supervisors who abused their positions of power. The workplace must be made safe for women so that they can perform and be productive in an environment conducive for work. Women and children must be safe and must feel safe in their country. We should, in the same vein, also step up our efforts to fighting sexually oriented violence perpetrated against lesbians, gay, bisexual, trans, and or intersex people. They also deserve to be safe and feel safe everywhere in our country. Bakwethu, sihlangene namhlanje ukuvula ngokusemthethweni uhlelo lokuqwashisa ngokuhlukunyezwa kwabesimame kanye nezingane. Sikhumbuza umphakathi wonke ukuthi kufanele sibambisane silwe nalesi sidlava sokuhlukumeza, ukushaya, ukudlwengula, ukuthumba kanye nokubulala omame nezingane. Lokhu kuyizenzo zobunswela boya. Lezi zigameko ziyenzeka emizini nasemphakathini eminingi. Kufanele ziphephe izingane kanye nomama. Omama nezingane banelungelo lokuphila ngokuthula nangokuphepha emphakathini. Importantly, violence against women and children is not a private matter. It is everybody's business. Neighbors must not keep quiet when they see or hear women or children being attacked or abused. Some families take a decision to hide the abuse of children to avoid embarrassment. These incidents must be reported to the police and social workers. Children deserve justice and protection from ourselves. We have legislation in place such as the Sexual Offences Act, Children's Act, Domestic Violence Act, the Child Justice Act, Older Persons Act, and many other laws which are important instruments to fight abuse. We urge all our police officers to receive women sensitively when they come to report the cases of abuse or violence at the police stations. A conducive environment is being created at many police stations so that these cases could be handled sensitively. The police family violence, child protection, and sexual offenses units were re-established in June 2010. Members of the units receive specialized training to deal effectively with the sexual offense-related cases. Police ran many campaigns around this time as well, raising awarenesses of the services they provide. Every magistrate's court has a division that deals with domestic violence matters. In large offices, there are dedicated clerks and magistrates to attend to domestic violence matters. This is yet another indicator of the measures taken by government to fight the abuse of women and children. Women should not keep quiet and must use all avenues to report abuse and to seek help. Government has, through the Department of Social Development, established a 24-hour call center, the Gender Abused Violence Command Center. The center deals with issues relating to domestic violence, rape, physical abuse, incident assault, indecent assault, verbal abuse, intimidation, abandoned children, and non-GBV cases. A majority of cases reported involve incidents of physical violence. The call center handles 1,500 calls a day, and these calls are handled by 40 social workers able to deal with the issues raised. If this is the number of calls, it must tell us that whilst we think things are normal, in fact, there is a lot of abuse that takes place. And it needs us to stand on our feet to stop it. The center refers cases of violence to the police and to the social workers. Women should contact social workers to obtain phone numbers or the nearest South African Social Security Agency offices so that they can be assisted immediately. Such centers are important as they provide a helpful voice on the other end of the line, especially when women and children are not comfortable with speaking to family members. The provision of these crimes, the prevention of these crimes is also important. Government socio-economic development programs are designed to improve the living conditions of all, especially women and children. Some of the interventions which are continuing everywhere by government include the provision of street lighting, reliable and safer public transport, water and sanitation inside the house, which create better and safer living conditions for women and children. Going to the river to fetch water or going outside the home to use a toilet at night have become risky for women, which is why government continues to provide these services in the home. Improving the economic status of women is also paramount in order to stop the financial and economic dependence on men, which makes many women vulnerable to abuse. Some women stay in abuse relationships because they are unemployed and dependent on the perpetrator for shelter, food, and all basic needs. I have instructed the economic cluster in government to ensure that all economic programs of government consciously include the empowerment of women. This follows the production of the important report on the economic status of women by the Department of Women in the Presidency. Programs are ongoing to improve women's access to land so that they can grow their own food and build their own homes. Women also need access to business financing and credit so that they can establish small businesses or cooperatives to generate income. The promotion of education and training opportunities are important measures aimed at empowering women and promoting economic independence. One of the achievements of government in alleviating poverty has been the social grants system. Many families are able to put food on the table because of the money from social grants. Government will also continue running victim support and victim empowerment programs to provide much needed physical social support. Government does not work alone in fighting abuse. We acknowledge all non-governmental organizations that support women in distress. They run shelters for abused women, crisis centers, and call centers. We acknowledge religious leaders, traditional leaders, and community leaders to whom these cases are also reported. We appeal to them to continue supporting victims and survivors of such cases. We recognize organizations run by women and men organizations, raising awareness and promoting positive role models for men and boys in the campaign of promoting safer homes and communities. Let me also applaud women in the legal profession for their participation in this important campaign. The Department of Women is working with the South African chapter of the International Association of Women Judges and the South African Women Lawyers Association to host the South African Family Law Dialogue as part of the sector's dialogues within the national dialogues in the province or in all provinces. This exercise will provide a platform for women in the judiciary, the legal profession, and public service to reflect on the South African family law, its implications, benefits, and challenges, and whether the laws are helpful or are helpful to women or not. Compatriots, let me emphasize that this campaign should not run for 16 days only. We must together implement our decision taken in 2014 of running this campaign for the whole year, for 365 days of the year. We appeal to every citizen and everyone living in South Africa that let us build a society where women and children are safe and feel safe in their country. All of us must play a role to achieve that goal. In other words, if we only talk about this once in the whole year and just use 16 days only, that is too little if you take the volume of these abuses. In fact, according to what I said, some police stations receive as calls complaining, it means on a daily basis, people are committing crime. And therefore we need that every day we should be on the alert in defense of our women and children. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and pleasure to officially launch the campaign of 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children. We wish the country well in ensuring the success of this very important campaign and urge everyone to participate in every community. I thank you. Rea leboga.
Mokgolokwane, bomme mokgolokwane. Ra leboga re Lebowakgomo presidente wa rona ha antse a re ama lefoko of how do we need and what do we need to do as a country in fighting the abuse of women and children in our country. Thank you very much, President, for those words, but also the marching orders for government, civil society, faith-based organizations, our leaders, for us to continue to strengthen the fight of this scourge of violence in our society. May I also take this moment to acknowledge Khoshi Maubane, who's with us today, acknowledge our mayor of Tubatse Municipality, who's here today. I think our message, President, your message is clear to all of us. It's not only a government responsibility to fight abuse, but it takes all of us. It takes a village to fight this scourge of violence in our communities. We are beginning with the dialogues today. Our president has launched it. We are beginning here in Limpopo, going to different districts, municipalities, in making sure we meet with our communities. We make sure the challenges we face and the outcome is informed by what goes on in our various communities. And I think to all of you, don't say it's government's responsibility. Ha re le yana, ha re tshwarane ka matsogo go lwantsha tlhekefatso ya bomme le bana mo ditulong tsa rona tsa fapafapaneng. Without any waste of time today, I'm going to call our mayor, our district executive mayor of Capricorn, Comrade Councillor John Mpe, to come and pass a vote of thanks.
Well, the Minister for Women in the presidency there, continuing with a program as President Jacob Zuma has officially launched the 16 Days of No Violence Against Women and Children campaign. Certainly, President Jacob Zuma calling on many of those perhaps who have been victims of the scourge that continues to plague South Africa, that government is there, the legislation is there, including the Sexual Offences Act, which could deal with such scourges in South Africa. Also calling on women not to keep quiet, those who are involved in abusive relationships not to keep quiet, that the necessary avenues are there to explore for the perpetrators to be held to account. And I think most importantly as well, on the backdrop of sometimes stories that you would hear of people saying when they go for help to police stations, for example, they don't get the necessary assistance that they require. President Jacob Zuma saying that these police stations are being made proper now to ensure that they are able to deal with the issues of this kind of sensitivity, and saying that domestic violence, abuse and many other scourges relating to violence in South Africa is not a private matter, saying that neighbors and those who do witness this kind of scourge, perhaps it's happening next door to you, you should report these incidents as well. But I'm afraid that's all we have time for here at the Lebowakgomo Civic Center in the Limpopo province. Thank you very much for watching, and certainly we'll call on all our men and our women, of course, to observe this day and not just make it to 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children, but certainly to make it every single day, as pointed out by President Jacob Zuma. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
animation, virtual reality and games.